Okay, so I'm going to be walking you through how I got this sort of pointillized CRT, TV, analog, whatever you want to call it, effect on photos. I'm sure it works on videos too, but I've done this with photos, so I'm going to teach you how to do it that way. First thing you want to do is you want to grab an image. I'm going to use a wallpaper that I created at the start of the year. And then I'm going to duplicate it. You can just Control C, Control V that. So now that we have our sources, what we're going to do is take the first image and then throw that in an edge. This is going to collect all the edge information from the input. And if it's not recognizing enough stuff, or if it's recognizing too much, you can always play with the strength. If you go really high, it will select a bunch of stuff that you might not want. It kind of just looks like it's getting whiter, but that will change how stuff gets affected. So do keep that in mind. Next thing you're going to want to do is go to the palette on the left side, select image filters. That's where we're going to be selecting the bulk of our effects. So you want to grab a bloom, throw that in there, and then connect a null at the end of it. If you are doing something like me where you have text on here that you want to keep legible, I would just drop the intensity a little bit so you can read some of those letters a little better. Now we're going to go on to the second image, and we're going to connect this to a noise. So from this, what we're going to do is set a very low period so it appears that the noise is just sort of grainy. And then we are going to apply, I guess, an expression, automation, whatever you want to call it, to the harmonic spread. And you're going to want to type in the values section, abstime.seconds. And so what this is going to do is that it's essentially just going to automate a value that's going up every second. So every second it increases by 1. If it's too fast, you can do something like divide it by 5, and then that'll change the value of that and how long it takes for it to actually increase by 1. But I'm just going to leave that at abstime.seconds, just the way that it was. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to combine these. And the way that we do that in TouchDesigner, there's a few ways, but the way I do it most often is through a composite top. And there's a couple of ways that we can cycle through this menu. There's the traditional way where if you know what you want, you can just click whatever. For me, in this case, it's freeze, but I'm going to share this because I found it handy. If you go to chop and then add a constant, and then click the viewer active, and then drag this onto the operation of the composite, and then select chop reference, you can use this to slide through the various effects. But what we want is for this to show up on the right side of the screen so that we can view it larger than just in the little screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to here with the pane layout, select this, and then in this frame type, or pane type, sorry, in the top left corner, we're going to select this to top viewer, and now whichever top you click this display on, it's going to show it up. And you can even do multiple ones, but normally I just do one. So in this case, because I know what I want, I'm just going to set this to freeze. And from that, we're going to put this in a null. Then after this null, we're going to put a channel mix. You can also do an HSV adjustment if you want to mess with your colors that way, but I just decided to do it a little different because I always do HSV adjust. In my case, I wanted this to be green, so I set the value to 10 just to make it obviously quite green. And then from here, we're going to create 2 streams. So we're going to make another comp but we can't use it just yet because a comp needs 2 inputs minimum. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this to another effect. And what we're going to select this time is pointillize from the palette. So connect that here. And you don't really have to mess with this too hard, but you can if you want. I'm going to make mine have a smaller point size. And then from here, we're going to connect it to an HSV blur. If you notice that your program is starting to move a little slower, like mine, you can just hit pause and then things will resume functioning as they were. So we're going to connect this to the HSV blur. And it's going to mess with the colors a little bit. If you don't want that to happen, you can just change the values of some of these parameters to be different. But for me, I don't really care because I'm just going to affect the colors differently anyway in the end. And same deal here. If I wanted to peruse through the various options, I can just set the chop reference here and then hold down left click on the value and make sure you're going up by 1 because that'll cycle through each individual option for composite. And as you can see, there's a bunch of cool effects that you get through combining these. But the one that I want is lighter color. And after lighter color, I'm going to apply an HSV adjust to get the colors that I want, which are in this color range, these sort of purple indigo tones, which, you know, purple is my favorite color, so that's why I do that. I'm also going to lower the intensity further, but if I hit play, you'll notice it's kind of given that screen feedbacky sort of look to it where it's pulsing. Even though it's a still image, stuff about it is pulsing. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole tutorial. It's quite an easy thing to do in TouchDesigner. So I hope you found this helpful. This is my first tutorial, so if there's any things that you found were a little off or a little weird, please feel free to let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's it.